Welcome to a very special meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board for Tuesday, July 27, 2021. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'll start with the roll call of members present. Michael Proto, Chair.
Kate Stevens, Vice Chair.
James Buffetti, member.
Curtis Sampson, member.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectman's Rep.
Okay. I'll open it up to public input on non-agenda items. Are there any items not on the agenda for this evening for public input? Okay, hearing none, I'll close public input on non-agenda items. We're here for a special meeting tonight. This is not our normal meeting schedule. This has to do with a review of two special exceptions for wetland impacts. The first one being 20 Birch Street, map 7, lot 8, zoning section 1208. And 490 Charles Bancroft Highway, map 22, lot 96, map 22, lot 4, Barron's Warehouse, zoning section 1208. My understanding is that the zoning, or the chair of the zoning board, has requested of the planning board comments regarding these special exceptions. I would refer to section 1208.00 of the Town of Litchfield zoning ordinance, which states that special exceptions may be granted by zoning board of adjustment after proper public notice and public hearing for undertaking and following uses in the wetland conservation district when the application is deferred to the planning board, conservation commission, and health officer for review and comment at least 25 days prior to the hearing, and when they meet the criteria listed in section 1200. We have been asked by the chair of the zoning board to provide comments to applicants for both 20 Birch Street and 490 Charles Bancroft Highway. Are the applicants for both here this evening? Okay. Okay, thank you. This is unusual procedure. Usually this is the purview of the zoning board for special exception. But given that there are required comments this evening, I'm just going to defer to Jay for 1 second. Should we proceed with this? This is new territory for me.
So these are not formal applications in front of the board, but this is an opportunity for the board to review the applications and to provide the zoning board with comment. So
Okay.
I think it would be certainly if there are applicants here,
Okay.
I think we can ask if they'd like to present the plans to the board.
Okay.
The board can review them, and make any comments, and then if the board's so inclined, someone could make a motion and provide whatever comments those may be, or it may be just as simple as, suppose the board doesn't wish to comment, has no comments, has
Okay.
no issues, or if there are concerns, you could outline what they are.
Very good. All right. So I think what I'll do is we'll start with the first one on the agenda for this evening regarding 20 Birch Street, map 7, lot 8. Is the applicant here? And if you are, please come forward to the microphone up here at the table and introduce yourself to the board, if you will, and your address.
Good evening, Andy McClavey, 20 Birch Street, Litchfield. First, can I say thank you all very much for taking the time to do the special meeting. I greatly appreciate that.
Is there anything that you want to, please, this is your opportunity, I guess, to present to us and
Yeah.
to provide us with a little background information.
So basically what we're looking to do is I have a failing septic currently at my property. And so what we're trying to do is replace the first one was we're trying to replace our septic, and actually our proposed septic is actually further away from the current wetland lines than my existing septic is. We're actually moving it further away. And then we're also looking to do an in-law addition on the back. And that's that kind of sketch part that you can kind of see back on the right-hand side of the property, and that is actually further away again than my existing home on the wetlands as well. So we kind of took a lot of time. We started this project back in February, took a lot of time with my builder and everything, because he knew all the laws and was like, you're not gonna be able to build to the right hand where I would have rather have built. He goes, you're gonna be way too close. He goes, nobody's gonna say okay to that, no matter which way you slice it. And then the septic, I've talked to many people, and it took actually, normally a septic design takes 15 days, and this took almost a month and a half because they were trying to find a way to do it. So instead of making a very wide field, they made a longer, narrow field to keep it away from the wetlands the most they could, with everything. And there's basically, if we replaced in kind, we'd be worse than replacing going with the new, because we'd be closer to the wetlands than our proposed septic is.
Okay. And did you get any comments from conservation?
Yeah, I went to conservation about a month ago or so, and their only request is when there's grass and everything on the backyard to not use any fertilizers. And I've never used fertilizer on the backyard anyway, so I have zero issue with that comment. If that had to be in print or whatever, I got no issues with that. That was their only comment, and they all voted in favor of supporting. I think that's the word I'm looking for, supporting the special exemption. Didn't have any issues with that.
Okay. And what about the public health officer? Did you?
Doug Nickel. I'm on the fire department as well.
Mhm.
He said he responded via email saying no issues.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any questions for the applicant? No? Okay, no comments from the. about the-
I saw the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, so last thing I think we want to do is continue that saga.
Well, I mean, if you have questions, I'm here to answer any questions. So
But-
please. But
And I was on Birch Street yesterday, actually, just by chance, and so you can't even see any of this that you're building up from the road, I don't think.
No.
So.
And it's funny, I spoke to all my abutters too, and I've actually lived in this house my entire life. I purchased it from my parents about 6 years ago. And I was talking to one of them, he goes, you've been here longer than me, I can't say anything. And yes, exactly. You can't see this from the road. None of this you'd be able to see from the road.
Yeah, I'd say as long as conservation doesn't have any issues, I don't see why we should.
Okay. All right. So at this point, I will open it up to public comment. Are there any members of the public who want to comment on this special exception this evening? Okay, hearing none, I'll close public comment. What is the will of the board? Do we want to just basically say we recommend or not recommend, or do we want written comments? What would the board like to do?
I guess I was trying to figure out what reason there would be to object to it. I don't see any reason. It's further away from the wetlands.
We made a very conscious effort to
And-
literally put it like as far as possible away from it. Yeah.
So I just,
Okay.
I fail to see what we could do other than to express support for it, but because you have to have a leach field, a septic system in the house, and it looks like they've gone to great efforts to try and minimize the impact, and they've got the clearance from other town boards. So I'd make a motion that we express support for the special exception.
Okay,
I'll second that.
and we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I think they also did a very good job filling out this 1208 ordinance. The whole proof is right there with all the attachments.
Yep, I would agree. Okay. All right, a motion second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of supporting special exception under 1208 of the zoning ordinance, please, for this Birch Street properties, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Have a great night.
You too. All right. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, number 2, 490 Charles Bancroft Highway, map 22, lot 96, map 22, lot 4, Barron's Warehouse, zoning section 1208. Is the applicant present?
We are, Mr. Chairman.
Would the applicant introduce himself to the board?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Andy Perlman. I'm an attorney with Pernier and Perlman of Nashua here on behalf of Barron's Major Brand Appliances. With me tonight is Luke Hurley of Gove Environmental Services. If you have any specific questions on the environmental impacts of the proposed wetland impact. So I'll be very brief. I have the Concom positive recommendation. I have their meeting minutes being passed to you right now. I have the selectmen has expressed their support. It's not really germane to you, but that was just out of control of my stapling.
Thank you.
And so I have a set of plans for everyone. This is the latest draft of the of our concept plans as we fine tune and finesse as we go along with the project. Mr. Chairman, very simply, we are asking for your positive recommendation to the zoning board on the wetland special exception tonight. And let me just go to the plans. And if you I'll tell you exactly what's happening. If you go to the third sheet of the plan, it's the site plan. It has the building in the middle. Right, looks like this. Mr. Chairman, members, initially the proposed Barron's warehouse of 132,000 square feet was going to be further west of where it's located now on our initial concept plans. But as the surveyors got out there, as Luke and his team got out there and started flagging wetlands and really started taking a better look at the site, we realized that the wetlands, what I call the lower wetlands that are indicated on the plan where it says 490 Charles Bancroft Highway, there are two sets of wetlands on the property. There's a lower wetlands toward the Merrimack River, west of the building. And then there's what I call the upper wetlands where the building is located. That's our wetland impact. The lower wetlands are a high functioning, good quality wetlands that do a lot of good. And we wanted to stay away from those. We wanted to preserve those as much as we can. So as a result, we shifted the building eastward toward Charles Bancroft Highway. And by doing so, we have a wetland impact of 200 and almost 30,000 square feet, and then a buffer impact around that of approximately 60,000 square feet. The reason we are confident that this makes sense is because the wetlands that we are impacting are low quality, low functioning wetlands, disturbed soil. It was a farm field originally, and the wetlands there really have little functional value. There's no vernal pools. There's little quality to the wetlands. And if you have questions on that point, Luke is here to explain that. So that's why we shifted the building toward Charles Bancroft Highway, and that's our wetland impact. Now, we did present this to the Conservation Commission. I was not there, but one of our project engineers was there, and Luke was there as well. And the Conservation Commission talked about it and gave their positive recommendation to the zoning board. Another significant positive impact for the town is that because we are over a 10,000 square foot wetland impact, we have to have some mitigation as required by DES. And that could be any number of things. But what we have kind of boiled down to is a proposed conveyance to the town of approximately 7 acres of land right along the river. You see that in that heavy outline on the left of the plan. Would be our mitigation to offset the wetland impact that we have with the locating the building and where it's being located. That 7 acres is will connect to the existing town park. I'm blanking on the name of that park. Moores Falls, thank you. So the Moores Falls Park will have an additional 7 acres of Merrimack River waterfront, all connected behind the church. And that's what we have in a nutshell, Mr. Chairman. We would prefer not to touch any wetland at all, but in this town, it's hard to avoid wetlands these days with the remaining land left in town. And again, if you have any specific scientific questions, Lou Curley is here for that. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, we are hopeful for a positive recommendation to the zoning board.
And the health department didn't have any issues.
Well, if you look at that email, below the email from Matt is an email from the health officer. He has no issues at this time. You see what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yep. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
So I guess, I know that there was an initial presentation made to us. Is this coming back to us? at
Oh,
some
sure.
point?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so, right, so we were before the zoning board a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I forget when. The zoning board had one member present. And so we deferred.
Oh.
They didn't have a quorum. We didn't even have the opportunity to defer. They didn't have a quorum. So we are scheduled with the zoning board right now for August 19th.
Yep.
And should we have success at the zoning board with respect to the use variance, because the warehouses and distribution is not allowed here, and the wetland special exception, then we will be back to you with a formal site plan where we will go over, all these details and pages of plans, and Lou Karen gets in. So we're coming back to you. Hopefully we're coming back to you.
Anybody have anything else?
And LKQ was granted the same variance to construct a warehouse in Northern Commercial.
Believe yes.
That's correct.
That's my understanding, yeah.
And we're looking at, we've been talking about updating our zoning laws to at least, have some kind of something wrapped around for warehouse and distribution centers. And I think part of that conversation has been that it makes more sense to have those warehouses in the northern end of town.
We're just jumping in. We're not being asked to comment on the variance, only the special exception.
Oh, I thought it was both. Okay, only the
No,
wetlands.
it's just this,
Only
yeah,
wetland
just the
special
Okay,
special.
so if it's
Yeah.
only the wetlands, then I would say if conservation's okay with it, then I'm okay.
So it looks like the Conservation Commission voted 5-1-1. Do we know what the opposition was?
Good question. Do you know, Attorney Cronin?
I believe it was a sympathy for loss of farmland, but I wasn't there. Was that? This is Lou Curley.
I don't, I think it was. Use myself and all that stuff. Luke Hurley, Gove Environmental Services. I'd say off the record, but this is on the record now. I think that Attorney Perlman is correct. I think it was because of where the building is located. A portion of it will be in the active farm area that's being used on site. And so I think that was the concern. If I recall correctly, but yeah, otherwise we had a preliminary meeting with conservation, we had a site walk, and then we had a follow-up meeting with conservation, and it all went very well. So, and donating that piece along the back as mitigation is actually it's certainly a win for the town. They could do something back there in the future if they really wanted to, because there's that newer warehouse that's down in the back to the south.
Yep.
South.
LKQ.
There's additional open field in the back there that is all upland. But what we proposed as mitigation was to essentially donate that to the town. And then that makes a big strip down the back of, one, it's in the shoreland buffer, the state shoreland buffer, so it's within the 250 feet of the river. But it gives a nice buffer along the back there for those several parcels from behind the church down to the south, where it's all one continuous open space piece, where I think there's a trail and stuff down there, and it's something that's be good for the town. So, yeah.
So I guess my confusion is, why are we doing this now? Is there some reason why this comes to us at this point?
Yeah, this-
Nodding your head, so you must have an answer.
Historically, if I may, Mr. Chairman, historically, this board has not weighed in on wetland special exceptions, but it is in the ordinance where when a wetland special exception application is made to the zoning board, it gets referred out to health, planning, and Concom for their comment, for their review and comment. Not uncommon. Hudson does the same thing. Nashua does the same thing. Many communities send it out to different boards and committees. So that's all that's here before you tonight, is a positive, negative, no recommendation back to the zoning board.
Mhm.
We do our thing with the zoning board. If we have success, we come back to you with a full application.
So my understanding is that the chair of the zoning board is sort of a strict constructionist, if you want to call it that. So she was not going to take any action until the planning board had the opportunity to review this, my understanding. And I don't know if that's a discretionary thing with the chair of the zoning, because I know this is not new for us, because I've never had to do it before, but I guess it is something that is done. So but yes, that's what they want. So.
So maybe,
I think historically it's been viewed as discretionary on the part of the board, whether the board wished to comment or not. And I think the sense has been not to comment, but I think at this point the interpretation of the zoning board is they want the comments.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a full presentation at some point to us. I don't feel like I have enough information at this point. And so my preference would be to make no comment and allow the board to do what they need to do their work. But I mean, this is a major project. I think I'd want to see the project in its entirety and not piecemeal it. So, and that's just my preference at this point. I think I would vote that we make no comment at this point.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Attorney.
If I could please comment on that. This is how these go. We have plans that go to the zoning board, and they're often preliminary in nature because we don't want to incur the full cost of doing an entire plan set that costs approaching $100,000 to do a full plan set when we might not even get approved at the zoning board, right? So this is exactly how it should be going. It's not as if you don't have enough information. The information provided to the Conservation Commission was satisfactory to the Conservation Commission, and it's just a recommendation. You're not voting up and down on the project. It's just a recommendation to the zoning board. So it's not it's appropriate to weigh in at this point, and it doesn't necessarily bind you down the road if we come back to the planning board.
No, I understand, but it sounds like it is discretionary, and that there may have been precedent of not weighing in and letting the zoning board do their work. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really their.
Jay, was the discretionary part on the zoning board to ask for our opinion, or was it discretionary on the planning board in the past for us to just not comment until he came to us officially? Do we know?
I think it's really been on the part of the planning board, although honestly, in my memory, we haven't seen something like we saw earlier from Birch Street. I've never seen something like that referred to the planning board before. So I guess the discretion cut both ways.
For me, I'm just saying I see support from three different groups at this
Yeah.
point. I see conservation, who's walked it 3 times, I believe.
We've
At least
discussed it 3
twice.
times. We had 2 meetings and 1 site walk, and
And-
everybody was there, I
Right.
think, for the site walk.
yes.
I think the full commission was there and others. So
Right. We've seen the Board of Selectmen say they gave you an approval, right? And the health officer as well. And they didn't see a problem with it, is all that I'm saying with that. I think I'll just speak for the board. They view this as a positive project. I'm not putting pressure on anybody here. So,
I guess the other comment I have to is, Kate was correct. We've been talking a month and a half now about what we have to do with our zones and how we have to kind of revamp them and update them. And this kind of falls into line of what we were looking at doing. So I don't see why giving a preliminary non-binding positive feedback to the zoning board would be something that would be negative towards the planning board.
Well, we're only, that's what Jay
Yeah.
was clarifying,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
only
we're only-
commenting on the wetlands.
the wetland,
Right.
no,
We
that's
can only,
not-
because
Right.
that's what the purpose of
the
meeting
emergency
is.
meeting was,
I
yeah.
got you.
But was there any, did conservation ask for any like special landscaping around to where that, like where the building would come into contact with some of those wetlands, or during construction is that expected to just be kind of leveled?
Concom did not ask for any special conditions or suggest any special conditions to the zoning board. I expect that when we go through the full planning process, that will be fully hashed out between, Lou Karen and Jay and Joan, going over all those details.
Was Lou Karen there already doing a preliminary or his group or no? Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't recall, was Lou there for the site walk? I don't think so.
Do we notify abutters for this meeting, for this?
No, I don't
No.
believe so. No. Because really what we're doing is we're only giving a recommendation to the zoning board. I think if it was the zoning board, then you'd have to notify butters and obviously, that's that process, but this is really for recommendation purposes. But just quickly, at this time, and just to be fair, I will open it up to public comment if there's any members of the public who are present who will want to comment on this project. I don't see anyone in the audience, but I'm just throwing it out there. So I'll close public input at this time. So I guess it's what we want to do. Do we want to defer it, or not make any comments at this time, or do we want to make a recommendation that we support this? It's up to the board and what they want to do.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we support the variance for zoning to make their mind up on the wetlands.
You mean the special exception?
The special exception, yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of recommendation to the zoning board, special exception 1208 for Barron's Warehouse to support it, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, abstained? All right, motion passes. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna do this right this time. 4-1-0. Got it. Did I do it right? Okay, good.
Thank you.
I'm making up for. All right, so looks like you're all set, gentlemen. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you
in.
very much for having us. And I have one question for the board, if I may. Do you folks have, rumor has it that you have a workshop on August 17th to talk about zoning. Is that true?
That is correct.
And is part of the zoning, the warehouse distribution, northern part of town?
The planning board is having a workshop to look at our zoning regulations and permitted uses. I believe Mr. Charbonneau, his lawyer, Morgan Hollis, and Jim Petropoulos are going to be present. Also, Matt Lepore, who's actually at the television. He's the chair of the Conservation Commission. He's going to be present as well. And it is really a workshop. It's not a a meeting per se, but it's really an opportunity for comments to the planning board. So
Okay, well, I may join you.
you're welcome to
That's
come
okay.
and do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. All right, so guess we've done our due diligence and we can report to the chair of the zoning board that we have accomplished our mission in getting these comment recommendations out. So at this time, having no other business this evening, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. Do I have any discussion? All those signify by please saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 500.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a record, 32 minutes.
Even
Is that be, oh, that be her